Morning. Pam, you've worked for Tesco for a long time.
Yeah, over 26 years.
How do you feel about the way that you're paid compared to men doing similar but not the same work?
Not the same, no, we're not saying it's the same. Disappointed, really, because obviously we weren't aware of it until recently.
What was it that sparked the knowledge?
What sparked it off, in 2016, we were told we were losing double pay, all the long service employees.
Right.
Been there obviously a long time, we were liable for double pay. They said they can't have people working alongside each other on different rates of pay, so they brought double time down to time and a half, which everybody was on, so everyone was working the same.
And that shed a light on the fact that you were not earning the same amount of money.
That's right, yeah. And then we since then found out, well, they're dropping it again this year to time and a quarter in July, but we found out people in distribution are earning still double pay. They're still on double pay, and they're getting between £1 and £3 more an hour.
And typically the people in distribution, are they men?
Typically, yes, yeah. And on the shop floor, mainly women. There are men, though. I've got men in the store. But yeah, generally women. But we're not saying the job is the same. It's different, but our job is still manual.
Yeah. So, Paula, this is an interesting case, isn't it?
It is.
Two sets of workers.
Yep.
Not all of them predominantly women, and presumably in the warehouse, not all of them but predominantly men. So you've got mainly women on the shop floor, you've got mainly men in the warehouse, but a significant difference in the rate of pay. Is this a gender pay gap, or is this just two sets of workers?
There's a couple of things here. So gender pay gap is a different thing to equal pay. So it's not illegal to have a gender pay gap. So when you're seeing employers reporting gender pay gap differences now, that's not a problem.
But isn't this exactly an example of a gender pay gap, because they're not doing
it's the language.
Same work?
This is an equal pay claim. So when you hear the mantra equal pay for equal work, what we're looking at here is we're looking at the definition of what equal work is. And equal work has three component parts to it. One is work which is the same or broadly similar. So that's like by like. So you're standing side by side, there's Jim and Jane doing the same job. Yeah. Everyone, I think, is comfortable with that. But equal work for equal pay purposes doesn't just stop with side by side.
Right.
The second definition goes into what we've seen in the public sector, where you have jobs that have been rated equivalent, and we saw that in the late 90s and all through the 2000s. What we're looking at here is the further extended definition of equal work, which is work of equal value. And what that does, that looks at the demands that are placed on those roles and what their value is to the employer. So it allows you to compare different jobs. And you'll look at things like the skills that are necessary, the training that's been undertaken, the working conditions. And so a useful analogy is that the first definition I gave of like work is when you might be comparing apples with apples. We get that, it's simple, it suits the way that we like to understand things. What we're doing in this case, and what makes it particularly challenging, is we're seeking to compare apples with oranges. And so what we're looking at is what's the nutritional value, how many vitamins are in it, how many calories are in it.
And if they contribute the same to the overall health of the company, then they should be paid equally.
What's the reaction from everyone in distribution with the fact that everybody on the shop floor is thinking that actually there's a discrepancy here, this isn't fair?
Well, I don't really know, because I don't know people in distribution, but we're not attacking them. We're not saying that they're less valuable than we are. We're just saying that we're of equal value to them.
Having been at Tesco's for over 26 years, as you have, and clearly there's some structure in pay that's changing dramatically and has done for the last few years anyway. How does it make you feel when you think you've given all that service, all that time, and yet the whole way through it seems like there has been sort of an issue with the amount you're being paid compared to somebody else doing?
Yeah, since we found out, obviously. I feel quite sad that we're still having this talk. I mean, obviously, it's been going on for years. They've been paying us like this for years, and we didn't know. And it is quite sad, really, that we're having to ask.
Paul, how are you going to establish that these two different jobs should have the same amount of...
So
that's the legal challenge in a nutshell,
That's the legal challenge. So equal pay claims are notoriously complex, and they do take a long time. If you looked at a flow chart of like the anatomy of an equal pay claim, the first thing that the woman has to do, and I say woman, that's the paradigm situation, to be perfectly clear, equal pay applies equally for men going to women. This is not a women's issue, it's an equality issue. Yeah. So the first thing the woman has to do, in using that example, is choose their comparators. Yeah. The next thing you have to do is then show that your work is of equal value.
And how far away are you from...
We're starting in the ACAS process now, so we're right at the beginning.
OK. Well, we got a statement from Tesco. And they said they're unable to comment on a claim that we have not received. Tesco has always been a place for people to get on in their career, regardless of their gender background or education, and we work hard to make sure all our colleagues are paid fairly and equally for the jobs that they do. When do they receive the claim?
They'll be coming in a few weeks.
Right.
And I want to be clear, Tesco, they do that. They've been, they were one of the founding signatories to the Think Act Report initiative of the government in 2011. And so we're not challenging like work. Remember, this is the extended definition.
If a claim goes in and then it goes to court and you were to get it ruled in your favour, what's the time frame for that? When would actually Pam see a difference in her pay packet if that's to happen?
Ultimately, that's a matter for Tesco. I mean, they could pick up the phone now and we could sort things out. But if we look at the normal trajectory of an equal pay claim, 3 to 4 years.
OK, so it could be 3 to 4 years.
And I'm not saying Tesco's are a bad employer.
No.
I've been proud to work for them, but
yes. Well, clearly you don't stay with a company for 26 years
exactly.
if it hasn't been a good experience
just a few
necessarily.
issues.
Yeah, of course.
Just a £4 billion one for them.
Really good to talk to you. You know, it is an issue of our time.